Ava stood by the window of her dimly lit apartment, the evening sun casting long shadows across the wooden floor. The city below was alive with its usual chaos, but her world was unnervingly quiet. In her hand, she held an ornate black envelope sealed with crimson wax. The sight of it sent a shiver down her spine. The envelope had arrived earlier that morning, delivered by a courier who vanished before she could ask any questions. Inside, a single card read, "You are cordially invited to a night of revelations. Address, 13 Crescent Lane. Time, 8 p.m. sharp. Do not be late." Ava hesitated, her mind racing with possibilities. Was this connected to Ethan? It had been 2 years since their paths had violently diverged, leaving behind a trail of betrayal and unanswered questions. The invitation felt like a trap, but curiosity gnawed at her. The mansion at 13 Crescent Lane loomed like a relic from another era. Ivy crept up its stone facade, and the iron gates groaned as Ava pushed them open. The air was thick with an uneasy silence, broken only by the faint sound of music emanating from within. Inside, the grand hall was filled with unfamiliar faces. Men and women, dressed in elegant attire, whispered in hushed tones, their eyes darting suspiciously. At the center of the room was a chandelier that sparkled like 1,000 captured stars. "Ava," a voice murmured from behind. She turned sharply to see a woman with piercing green eyes and a sly smile. "Do I know you?" Ava asked, her voice steady. "Not yet," the woman replied, extending a hand. "I'm Lila. You're here because of Ethan, aren't you?" Ava's stomach tightened. "What do you know about Ethan?" Lila led Ava down a narrow hallway, lit only by flickering sconces. They entered a small library, the walls lined with dusty books. Lila closed the door and turned to Ava. "Ethan's alive," she said. Ava's breath caught. "That's impossible. I watched him..." "Die?" Lila interrupted. "You saw what he wanted you to see. Ethan's alive, and he's been hunting the truth about Project Morpheus." Ava's mind reeled. Project Morpheus was a shadowy initiative she and Ethan had uncovered during their time as investigative journalists. It had cost them everything. "Why now?" Ava asked. "Why the invitation?" Before Ava could respond, the sound of a scream echoed through the mansion. Lila's eyes widened. "Stay here," she instructed, but Ava was already moving. In the dining hall, chaos had erupted. A man lay sprawled on the floor, a knife protruding from his chest. Guests whispered in panic, their faces pale. "Everyone, remain calm," a commanding voice boomed. At the head of the room stood a man Ava hadn't seen in years. Ethan. He looked different, hardened, colder. His eyes scanned the room until they locked onto Ava. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The guests were herded into the drawing room, where Ethan stood before the fireplace, his presence dominating the room. "You're all here because you played a part in what happened to me," he began. "Tonight, we settle the score." Ethan's words sent a chill through Ava. She scanned the faces of the other guests, searching for any hint of recognition. Who were these people? And what had they done? Ethan's gaze landed on a man in a navy suit. "Mr. Carlyle, care to explain your role in Project Morpheus?" he asked, his voice dripping with venom. Carlyle stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. I was just following orders." Ethan smirked. "Orders to destroy lives? To cover up the truth?" In the darkness, Ava's instincts kicked in. She reached for her concealed knife, her ears straining for any sound. A scuffle broke out, followed by a loud crash. When the lights returned, Carlyle was gone. In his place was a trail of blood, leading out of the room. Ethan's expression darkened. "No one leaves until this is finished," he declared. Ava stepped forward. "Ethan, what's going on?" He turned to her, his eyes softening for a brief moment. "Stay out of this, Ava." As the night wore on, the tension in the mansion grew unbearable. One by one, the guests began to reveal their secrets, each tied to the enigmatic Project Morpheus. Ava pieced together fragments of the story, experiments, betrayals, and a conspiracy that reached far beyond what she and Ethan had uncovered. But something didn't add up. Why had Ethan orchestrated this gathering? And why was he so fixated on finding the traitor? Ethan found her in the basement, his face a mask of anger and pain. "You weren't supposed to see this," he said. "What is this, Ethan?" Ava demanded. "Why is my picture here?" He hesitated before answering. "Because you're the only one I can't figure out." Ava's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" "Someone sold us out," Ethan said. "Someone close to me, and I need to know if it was you." The accusation hit Ava like a blow. "You think I betrayed you? After everything we've been through?" As the truth unraveled, Ava realized that the betrayal Ethan sought wasn't as simple as he believed. The real traitor had manipulated them both, using their trust against them. The sun rose over the mansion, its light cutting through the darkness that had consumed the night. Ava and Ethan stood together, bloodied but alive. "This isn't over," Ethan said, his voice heavy with resolve. "No," Ava agreed, "but we'll face it together." For the first time in years, there was a flicker of hope. In the shadows of betrayal, they had found something worth fighting for: the truth.